Bayou-Ali and Dialogue of Energies in the Universe. Knowledge that's remained intact since the time of the pharaohs is now being shared with humanity to assist in restoring balance to our world. Indigenous people around the planet are reading the signs that our world and humanity are out of balance. Many tribes are now coming forward at this crucial time to speak with the world and share their ancient knowledge. Through uniting the indigenous people with the rest of humanity, we have the potential to restore a world in balance. Dogon elders of the traditional Kemetic priesthood recognize the necessity in this time to provide an alternative to the destructive, self-destructive lifestyle that the modern, colonial, political, educational, and religious systems have maintained for the last 2,000 years. This knowledge has been guarded by traditional Dogon priests, being passed from generation to generation only through intense initiations for thousands of years. Please join us as we discuss these ideas and much more on Friday, July 29th, 2011. Bikbai, Inej Nima, Naba Arita Shinmira, and Miriam Delicado. Hosted by Carrie Cassidy of Project Camelot.
Yes. Okay. This is Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot, and actually just trying to do a couple of last-minute things here. Sorry. And so basically, this is Project Camelot. We are here and very happy to present the Dogon speaking to the world today. It's going to be a very, very interesting event, and I'm going to have Miriam introduce our Dogon representatives, so to speak, and then what I would like is for each person to give a little bit of their background, sort of a bio, for assuming that not everyone in the audience will know who you are, and that includes Miriam. Okay, so why don't we start with Miriam and then go from there.
Okay, thanks, Carrie. Well, I'll do the best that I can here to introduce these two amazing guests that we have here today, who I've had the great honor and privilege to get to know over the last month and a half, 2 months. And we have Naba Arita Shinmira, who is a member of the Dogon from Burkina Faso. And he is a very special person whose father carries a great lineage from the Dogon people in Africa. And just to mention that we may use the word Marita in place of the word Africa, as this being the original name that was used and is still used today. So that would be Marita. So this is Naba, and we also have Bikbai Enejnima, and I hope that I said it correctly, who also is an incredible person who is following the Dogon way of life and has been initiated into the Dogon following the elders in Marita, Africa as well. And I'll leave that a little bit further bio for each of them to continue if they choose to. I myself am Miriam Delicado, and my work in the last few years of my life have been focused on bringing attention to the indigenous people from around the world to have them have more of a focus as far as bringing forward sacred knowledge, ancient knowledge that has the potential to be able to help move along our society, to awaken them, to have a greater understanding of the energies that we're working with, and to also bring together people from around the world, not just the indigenous, but from all walks of life, to have an understanding that we have to make some changes in order to continue in our world. And a very big part of that has to do with our spiritual paths. So Carrie and the crew that has helped put this together, I send them all a very big blessing, and thank you very, very much for giving us the opportunity to bring these incredible people forward to the world. And I also am very excited to hear what it is that they'll be sharing with us today. Thanks, Carrie.
Okay, Big Bai, do you want to say something at this moment, please?
Greetings. My name is Big Bai Inanjanima. I am a student of Master Naba Lamusa Motodenibig, who is the founder of the Earth Center, which is the school, initiatic school that he started here in the United States. I am currently the eldest student from this foundation that he built here in America, and currently the Hepu Mayor, or what people would call the eldest generational overseer of all of the schools. I was born and raised here in the United States.
Okay, Big Bai, I'm sorry to interrupt you here, but your audio is not very loud, and I think people are going to have trouble hearing you. If you could speak a little closer and move a little closer to the mic on your computer, that would be better.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Is this sound a little bit?
Okay. I'm sure it'll help. Just project your voice as best you can so that there's no audio problems. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Big Bai Inanjanima. Is that better?
A little bit, yes.
Okay. I am born and raised here in the United States and crossed paths with Master Naba Lamusa Motodenibig, who is the founder of the Earth Center. He is the Dogon Kemetic High Priest that I served during his stay in the United States for about 10 years. And I am currently the eldest generational overseer of all of the Earth Center schools here in America and in our locations in Merita. I am a writer for the Rising Firefly magazine, which is a publication that was started with Master Naba, myself, and a couple of other people back in 1998. And I'm currently residing on the West Coast in the United States.
Okay, we seem to be having an audio problem. Is everyone able to hear him speak? He appears to be speaking here, but it's not visible. It's not audible.
I can hear him perfectly, Carrie.
Okay. Yes. All right. I'm not sure what's going on then. Okay, fine. If you can hear me, then if Big Boy, I'm sorry, but were you done talking?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, Irita, could you please speak to everyone and introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Naba Irita Shenmira, born in Togo in a Tim traditional culture, born and raised in Tim and traditional culture. I'm a Gurmanche, the Dogon tribe in Burkina Faso, and I'm a student of the Health Center, the school founded by Master Naba, who 15 years ago in US here, and I'm right now residing in Chicago and traveling to wherever the work is needed, traveling to go and get everything done. And yeah, so really that's what I can say about myself. That's coming from Burkina Faso, known as Upper Volta, around 60s. Thank you.
Okay. Well, at this time, what we basically want to do is introduce the topic of bringing new energy into the world. And I believe perhaps Big Bai, if you could start to address this topic, and then from time to time, whoever would like to speak, just simply go ahead and speak in relation to this topic.
Well, the topic that we thought was appropriate to discuss today evolves around the Bayouali, which is the dialogue of energies coming from the earth and being reciprocated from all other celestial bodies back to the earth, and how this affects humans whose identity is linked to the earth itself. This is a very big topic, and it's very in-depth. There is no way possible, really, that we can fully explain the depth of this topic during this interview, but it will be our attempt to give a basic understanding, or just to have a foundational understanding of what this means, this dialogue of energies, and how this affects the human being on earth and his relation to the universe itself. Another topic that ties into that is not really totally separate, is the sidereal calendar, which is according to our teachings of the temples of the Nile and Niger valleys, the sidereal calendar is the oldest calendar known to humanity, but it is also the only calendar that the correct or precise time division can be observed through the a phenomenon that we know as the heliacal rising, which deals directly with the Sirius or Sothis star in the Orion constellation. So this will be the basis of our conversations today.
Okay, Big Bai, what did you want to say specifically about the Sirius star system?
Only information that is directly related to our concept of time division and how that relates to even the effect that it has on the planet that we live on, which is Earth.
Okay, and in what way do perhaps you could explain how the Dogon might view time differently?
Can you repeat that?
Perhaps you can explain how, as a result of the having, I believe the Dogon believe themselves to have come from the Sirius star system, and that therefore they view time differently than what mainstream people view time as. Could you describe how they view time?
Well, I think there needs to be a better clarification or understanding of the Dogon itself, because many people have an idea based on what they've been exposed to regarding the Dogon that leads them to believe that the Dogon is just a specific tribe in a specific area of Merita. But that's not the case. The Dogon is comprised of bloodlines that goes back to the Pharaonic period and the Nile and Niger Valley civilizations. When the invasions started happening in Merita, the Dogon, who were considered the upper echelon of the Kemetic society, they went to different areas of Merita in order to preserve the mystery school knowledge that they were upholding in what we now know as the Nile Valley. Some people may say Egypt, but this was long before the word Egypt existed. Therefore, with that being the case, there are many different aspects of the Dogon, and these different aspects, they carry their own um, um, traditions, so to speak, although they're all tied in to one, but they carry their own traditions. The Dogon, uh, the perception that people have of the Dogon, saying that um, they are from Sirius and things like that, that's a very sensitive topic that I know we are not um, um, privileged at this point in time to discuss on an interview like this, because it's something that is it goes very, very much in depth. But as far as how the Sirius star relates to the concept of time that the Dogon or the Kemetic priest, high priest, is very simple to discuss. When we look at the concept of time, how we know time, um, we base it on the Earth and the Earth's rotation around the sun, or the Earth rotation around the moon, but mainly the sun. But this rotation is very inconsistent, meaning that the rotations and revolutions of the Earth, it is not the same consistently. It's not one constant speed. Depending on the effects that other celestial bodies have on the earth, that can determine the rotation and revolution of the earth itself. So there's really nothing that we can observe in the universe that can give us a precise account of a complete cycle, because the sun itself, basing our concept of time on the rotation of the earth around the sun, you only complete one cycle when you have the same body in the exact same position. And even for the earth in relation to the sun, it takes more than 50 years to get back to the same position to where you can say this is one cycle. So it's due to these discrepancies that it allows for a more, um, how do I say it? It allows us to take a closer look at what's really behind the astronomical theories, being that it takes over 50 years for the sun and the earth to be in the same exact position. Then we have to look elsewhere for that. And because there's nothing else that we can observe, it almost becomes an enigma as to really understanding our position in time and space here on the planet. So the Sirius star comes in to give us that precision that we're looking for. I spoke about I mentioned the heliacal rising. This is an event that takes place according to our temples every 1461 years, in which the Sirius star is eclipsed by the sun itself. From this point, that's one cycle. The next time that happens, it completes another cycle. It's 1461 years between those two cycles. And it's this cycle that has been observed by the Kemetic culture for millennia. We're talking at least that we are aware of 73,000 years ago. And that is the only cycle that has been observed that has been consistent and has not changed or wavered at all. So it becomes more than just a theory when dealing with the heliacal rising and the Sirius star. And this is something that they've maintained records and base everything as far as time division, base it on that particular aspect of the celestial bodies and movements of those celestial bodies.
Okay, you're talking about, did you say Leo rising?
No, heliacal.
Okay, what is that?
Heliacal rising. That is the name of the phenomenon that I was just speaking about, where the sun eclipses the Sirius star.
Okay. Okay. And you give it a name, which is, I'm sorry, could you repeat that name again?
Heliacal?
Yes.
Yes, heliacal rising.
Okay. Is this what you're speaking about? Are these teachings that you have been taught from the Dogon priests?
Yes, that's everything that I'll be saying on this interview. Everything that Editar will be saying on this interview is what Master Naba taught us as a Dogon high priest. These are things that he taught to us. There's nothing that we will say that is of our own ideas or notions. So everything that we're saying or will say is based on the education that we got from our teacher.
I see.
Carrie, can I interject for a moment to
yeah.
give some clarity on this? Okay, so I think that what you're really trying to ask is, where is this information coming from? With Naba, Erita, and with Bikbai, they have had Master Naba as a teacher, a Dogon teacher, but they also have elders back in Marita, and it is not just, it's about a lineage. They're following a lineage, and this lineage that they've been taught by is from Master Naba, who was Erita's father. So they also have the elders back in Marita right now that they consult with and that they speak with. So when they're here speaking with us today, they're not just speaking from themselves as people, as individuals, and they're not only speaking from the teachings that they received from Master Naba, but they're actually talking about that lineage. I hope that I got that correct. Is that correct, Bikbai? I think they're asking for clarity about that.
Yes.
Yes. So when we're here discussing, when they're sharing this information with us, we are discussing issues that they have already looked at spiritually. They've looked at with their elders back in Marita. They've looked at for themselves. And these are all things that are being brought forward that are actually have gone through a process from Marita in order to be brought forward here today with all of us.
Okay. Thank you for that, Miriam. What I would say is perhaps we can now hear from Erita in regard to some of the things that Bikbai has been talking about in regard to the Sirius star system and the knowledge that has been handed down through Naba, who I understand to be your father. I'm understanding that this is also a Dogon priest, and that you have been under their instruction as well. It's understood that this is ancestral knowledge that your father is trying to communicate to you, and therefore you are, in a sense, his student. But if you could talk about your own journey in this regard and how you came to be a student of your father.
Thank you, Gary. Yeah, really, this is a very special show for us, and yeah, I don't remember when was the last time someone coming directly from the initiation come directly from Africa with the knowledge of the initiation comes to really share it with the Western world. So we really made our decision right now to break that silence and come out and really help people. Because asking the question you asked to really answer it, just want to say that we are like helpers of the humanity. And this is what has been going on for thousands of years with our bloodline. And you can just look in any spiritual institution or any religious institution, you will always see that the people taking care of the spiritual side, the spiritual aspects of that institution, of the community, of the society, is related to the bloodline that we are. We are a bloodline of people taking care of the deities, taking care of the gods since the time of Pharaoh. So really, my journey, yeah, I would say I went to university. I went to school. I studied accounting. I went to university. I'm speaking English right now. Not everyone is allowed to speak English from where I'm coming from. But all that, I'm just kind of grateful to my father, Master Naba, for him allowing me, guiding my step in the way I'm getting to be close to the colonial world, to the Western way of living, but at the same time, keeping my roots deep in the ground, meaning keeping the initiation knowledge, keeping the integrity of who we are. So my journey is just very simple, just like how in Merita, Africa, for thousands of years, ancestors and deities and all that, how they've been working, whatever they've been doing, all that has been like in archives, they record everything. And those things, for a person to be able to reach those things, you need to be part of the initiation. We call it initiation. We have like every 8 years where we have all the young children at the age of 7 who always go deep in the initiation camps. And this is something very secret, and we really don't go deep in that. And in those initiation camps, that's where the young boy learn what his ancestors have been doing. That's where the young boy learn the history of humanity. That's where the young boy learn the existence and how to bring the balance in humanity and bring the harmony in the universe. So this is something that I would not say really there is like a special time that I started learning that, or I started learning from my father, because all this knowledge that we are talking about, we back home call it tradition. We call it tradition, meaning things that have been like passing to from the generation to other generation, from the older generation to younger generation, and how we've been passing it to is through the mouth and the ear. You have a child, you make sure your child learn who you are and who his blood is. So really, but I came to really start learning more with the health center that my father started when it was time for me to get ready and learn it. Mm-hmm. And that was the time I have to stop with looking for colonial knowledge, looking for foreign knowledge, learning foreign knowledge, and then really focus on our knowledge. So be it, I'm really uh, happy Big Bye started talking about everything that seems to be like, oh, okay, all that is coming from the Dogon. But for me, it was a big surprise to come into the Western civilization and then see how people are really fascinated with the Dogon tribe, with the Dogon knowledge, with the septet, the Satis, the Sirius star, and all that. And yet, one thing I have to notice is this. So everyone have the tendency of talking about the series, talking about that star, being like the revolution in the Western civilization. But at the same time, I have to look and see, oh, those people really, do they know what they're doing? Or where is the information coming from? Because you can't be talking about a star, the only star that you see in the sky, the brightest star in the sky. You can be looking at it, talking about it, trying to build all kind of knowledge, all kind of illusion or superstition around it, and yet you don't follow the cycle of that star. I noticed here that we following the calendar that I'm right now in Chicago in the U.S. and I bet it's like in every modern society where people follow the Gregorian calendar. And then we ask ourselves, this calendar is based on what? Big Bye already said it. The moon, the sun, the earth, they are inconstant. They don't have constant rhythm. They don't have a constant cycle. So if this society is looking at Sirius star as something that is very big, a big knowledge, and at the same time thinking that, oh, they can still follow a calendar that is based on events in the history, based on things that are not even astronomical. So really, I think this is going to be a good discussion. I don't know how long it's going to take. And, yeah, Big Bye and I would say maybe all our listeners, they are kind of lucky because many things we're gonna say they will like it, many things they will not like it, but those are just the truth coming from where we are. And one other thing I want to mention for people to understand, wherever they are, is this. When we're talking about Dogon people, just don't look at people in the cliff of Bajangara, Mali. Dogon are all over Africa. Dogon, you can be a Dogon if only you know your initiation and you kept it intact and you kept living your life based on the initiation, based on what your ancestors have been doing. I saw some people here saying that, oh yeah, there's some Dogon who are Muslim or some Dogon who are Christian. I'm like, they are not Dogon. A real Dogon, even your deities, your ancestors will be against you. It's like you become like a traitor when you leave your knowledge to start following something else. So the Dogon are all over Africa. Just don't, if really this civilization wants to get healed, let me say that, get healed, fix what is wrong, and get the real knowledge, get the truth into everything they're following, let's look everywhere. those people in Badiangara, we respect them. They are really Dogon. But we don't want it to be as a propaganda where people will think, okay, yeah, that's where everything is. Someone will go 2 weeks, come back, write a book. Yeah, I went to the Dogon, I got the knowledge. You just said it. Dogon people, I don't know where you got the information, Kerry, but I know maybe you read it somewhere or someone said it. And if you have to see who told you about it or who wrote about it, it's going to be someone who's not even from the Dogon in Mali. When saying, oh, okay, the Dogon are coming from the Sari style, no, that's that's insulting human intelligence. That's really insulting human intelligence to say, okay, Dogon are coming from the Sari style. If someone wrote something like that or is talking about those kind of things, that's an insulting human really mentality. You can be living in another star and come live on Earth. Those are two different things going on. So really, the Dogon are all over the world. During the migration, during the invasion of the Roman and the Greeks and the Persian and all that, they just invading looking for whatever they're looking for. They're looking for knowledge, or they are envious or jealous about how the civilization was going on there. But really, during the invasion, the knowledge, what people call Egyptian knowledge or Kemetic knowledge and all that, those knowledge we kept them very intact. We did no corruption with those knowledge, and those knowledge still live, and people still living by those knowledge, those rules, those spiritual things, and all that. So
okay, when you say since the invasion, which invasion are you talking about? Are you talking about the Arab invasion?
I'm just putting everything together where Arabs really, they were really the first one to invade Africa, to invade the Kemetic civilization, and then came the Greeks and the Romans and all that, the Persian and all that. So I'm talking about those invasions, just to explain to the listener that during that invasion, we have to run away. Meaning we have to protect what is protecting the universe. We have to protect what is there, that is the source, that is like helping us keep the universe in balance. So how are we going to do that? Just allow those people having those knowledge, taking care of those knowledge, taking care of everything, to migrate inland. So during the migration, so we didn't just those priests who were taking care of those deities and gods and all that. We didn't go in one place. Everyone went on his way. We have even stories, we have even facts in the initiation camps explaining all of that.
Carrie,
Okay.
can I interject here for just a moment, please?
Yes.
I'm going to try to do this to the best of my ability during this program a little bit, because just to give some clarity to the listeners, okay? Arita, who was just speaking here, he was never in North America. He actually came to North America for the very first time about 2 years ago. So that was his very first experience in North America. And during our conversation since we've met, I can tell you that, North America is not his favorite place to be. He'd like to be back in Africa, in Marita. Just to give that a little bit of clarity. Also, what the Dogon are and who they are. I think that what he's trying to say is that the Dogon, when they were initially when they were initially a group, okay, then they ended up moving and moving throughout Africa, throughout Marita, and going to different places in an attempt to really keep that knowledge secret and safe. And a lot of this knowledge, as many of the people know, a lot of quote-unquote traditional knowledge is considered secret. And the reason for that is because it literally takes years and years of constant, devoted study to really understand what this knowledge is about. So when he's talking about the initiation schools, for the Dogon, it starts at a very young age. And when they really start to have their training for the Dogon way of life is when they're 7 years old, going into the initiation, what they call the initiation camps, okay? Now, part of what the Dogon stand for, who they are, is the beginning of a lot of sacred knowledge that's really all over the world. And I know this because of, you know, small conversations that I've had with Bikbai and Erita over the last month, talking about different belief systems and how when they share something about their society and their way of life, you can clearly see that, yes, it came from them. There's bits and pieces of and threads that are throughout other traditions and religions. It's really fascinating. So what the purpose of a Dogon is, that's a question that I would like to have Erita and Bikbai talk, you know, briefly about what the focus and the purpose of being Dogon is. Because with most traditional people around the world, traditional people, meaning indigenous people, the purpose of following that tradition is to live in a balanced, harmonious way of life between the earth, humanity, and the rest of the universe. And so to sort of lead us into this awakening that we are also going through on the planet, to really get into what it is that, you know, the conversation is leading to here, which is the difference between time and space, and the Bayu Ali, which is the energies of the earth and how they move through us. So what's the purpose, the life purpose of a Dogon? And how does that relate to the Bayu Ali? That's what I'd like to ask. Big Bye.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Okay.
We can hear
Wow,
you.
that's
There's
I'm sorry.
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay. That's a very interesting question because to ask what is the purpose, the life purpose of the Dogon is almost to give, it almost like paints a picture that the Dogon is, their purpose is different from any other human's purpose. I think just to clarify, I think I understand what you were trying to ask. What is their, maybe what they, what their role is, more so than what their purpose is, because within the traditions, everyone, all of the priests, they play a different part of the same equation. There's a goal to be attained. There's different ways of achieving that goal. And all of the in the priesthood and through the initiations, everybody may have a different interest or a different way that they would like to contribute to the overall goal, which is really no different from what you mentioned, Miriam, that you are aware of with other cultures, is to maintain a balance, a harmony with the planet. And the purpose is no different from that, but the roles may be a little different. But even I can't say that that would be very honest to say that, because in different cultures around the world, there are priests that might, their focus may be the same as some of the focus of the Dogon priest as well. Um, but just to give a little insight, um, there's different levels of knowledge within the initiations. And the higher you go within those, um, that structure, the more you are exposed to, and it's based on that that your role is constantly being defined. Another way of putting that is, it, I can't achieve or I can't do anything if I haven't been given the exposure or the tools or the knowledge that will allow me to do whatever it is that I am to do. So as you climb the ladder, so to speak, of knowledge within the initiations, and just also keep in mind that it is these same mystery schools of ancient Egypt that have maintained and preserved itself through these initiation camps all over Africa, all over Merita. It's these same initiation schools that educated, even for very short periods of time, people who then took credit for being the father of philosophy or astronomy and all of these things. So there's different tiers or different levels of knowledge to be attained. The higher you go, your role becomes more and more defined, because now you're being exposed to things that you probably never thought even existed before, or things that you probably thought were even impossible to attain, or even just realizing the realities of things that exist that maybe you just don't see right in front of you. So you can't be exposed to these things and still have the same role that you played, because you've been exposed to it for a reason. It's a reason why. It's like being supplied something to build something. And if you're being supplied more tools, that means that it's meant for you to build something different or bigger than what you initially started with. So the role of the Dogon, or the purpose of the Dogon, is the same as any other human being, but within the initiations, within the knowledge, everyone plays a different role that still collectively allows everyone to achieve the same goal. And the goal is perfection. The goal is to perfect ourselves. And we know that that takes harmony. We have to be in harmony with the planet that we live on. We have to be in harmony with others in our environment. And this is a very daunting task, because as human beings, we are much harder to keep up with, for the energies to keep up with, because we're moving around all of the time. If we were just all trees or mountains, plants, it'd be a lot easier to have and maintain a harmonious existence, because we're not becoming obstacles to this dialogue that the earth has with every other celestial body in the universe. So this is kind of a segue into the Bayali actually, but I'll wait until maybe a question specifically about that is asked.
Well, no, actually, Big Bai, that's very good information, and I think that this is a good time to address somehow the knowledge does relate to what you call the Earth's dialogue with the rest of the celestial bodies. I think that that's an important subject, and that's actually very important to the world consciousness at this time for all people. And I would also like to say that when you talk about the traditions and you talk about the priesthood, in my view, traditions and priesthoods are no longer appropriate at this time on the planet. And I think that it's important to break down those walls of tradition and to release the information as I believe that your priests are sending you out into the world to speak at this time for just that reason, that perhaps the knowledge has been kept secret for a purpose, but that at this time, humanity must speak to itself and to each other openly. It is not a time for secrets, in my view. And that's what this dialogue is all about here. So if you, let's see, Irita, if you would like to talk about how the Earth as a celestial body is speaking to the other celestial bodies and energies in the universe, as well as here on the planet, and how these things manifest from your perspective or from the Dogon perspective, please do so.
Yeah, yeah, I just want to make a comment before I go into the subject. We are keeping, the tradition, or maybe the tradition we can call them, or the priests, or those being the one, the guardian of the knowledge of Kemet, of Africa. They're keeping the secrets for one reason. We're keeping the secret for one reason. And that reason is this. This society doesn't know anything about spirituality. This society doesn't care about the world harmony. This society doesn't care about the universal balance. This society is just about, I'm talking about the modern society. It's just about destruction. From the last time, or maybe from the first time, this modern society with the politicians and all that gets to control this planet, if we have an open mind, we just have to look around and we see the image of the earth. And the image of the earth right now is the image of the intention of the people being in control of this planet. So those knowledge we have, those knowledge that we carry are very spiritual. We have even rules, we have even commandments that we follow. Our lives are based on rules, things that you cannot do. Not things that you can do, but things you cannot do. Today, one country will get a gun and go destroy another country. For what purpose? Maybe the power. So we are conscious, And I know those elders back home are conscious that the humanity needs the knowledge. Then that knowledge will get to the one who is awakened to get the knowledge. I'm sure we're not the only one, being here and talking and, listen. Many people are on it. What are the intention of those people? I can't really say it. So that's the main reason we're keeping everything secret. Even American government has secrets that they don't. That's why maybe they have like what they call secret service. Every society, every civilization needs to have secrets, and that's what is the base, or that's what is the spinal of the society. How do you call it? Like the pillar of that society. And even in Merita, in Africa, right now, if you don't go through initiation to show that okay, you have the dignity to carry the knowledge, you will never know about it. That's why we're saying that maybe some people go to Africa and they'll go into the cliffs, or they'll go to the priests, and some people who claim to be like, okay, yeah, I know about our tradition, I know about our civilization and things like that. And then they ask those people will talk to them. And they think, okay, yeah, when I talk to them, I got the knowledge. Right now, I'm not saying that whatever will come out of my mouth is the absolute truth.
It's 2:00.
But I just don't want anyone to feel at ease, to think, okay, whatever came out of that person's mouth is worth to really like make it a propaganda. Because I still have elders. And those elders, as Bigba was saying, they are the one being at the higher level of the initiation. I'm just still in the initiation. We're just still in the initiation. So the Baywali, that's I know Bigba said it at the beginning. That's really a very big topic. The Baywali, we have another opposite channel that we call the Yen, because the earth, for anything, even between human beings, for us to be able to have the dialogue, there needs to be someone for you to be able to have a dialogue. So we have those two channels, and the Baywali is within anything that is in the universe. The Baywali is within anything.
Okay, Irita, is what you mean by Bayali, are you talking about what we would say in English, the essence of something?
No, I'm not talking about that, because what I'm talking about is like, we have many other celestial bodies in the space, in the universe. And on even the earth, we have many other things that we see and things that we cannot see. And all that is part of the universe. But what is keeping all that in the perfect harmony is what we call the Baywali. Baywali is like this channel through which a body, a celestial body, or any kind of body, any kind of entity in the universe, like projects its energies. So this is like the first definition we can give it. The second definition is like, on Earth, we are human beings living on Earth. And on Earth, we are only able to project energies. We are only able to project the energies, project the Baywali, because of the Earth's energies, because of the energy that the Earth will project through us. We are kind of the antenna of the Earth, and the earth uses anything that is on it to project the energies through the other celestial bodies or other entities. So I will not say that's like the same thing like the incense, or not really, because we have, when there will come like the second channel, which is like the Yenu, which is the channel through which everybody receive the energies. Then talking about the incense of you know, in everyone would make it like you know, challenging. So the Yenu is the channel that any body or any celestial body or entities in the universe receive the energy from other bodies. So this is where the dialogue is coming from. I know people know about the gravity. I know people talk about a lot about it, the gravity. So there's no, if we just have only the gravity, because the modern knowledge doesn't know about the Yenu. They don't know about the other force that is trying to make the balance. Because if it's just like the gravity, the balance is not there. That means like the earth is or maybe all the celestial bodies and all the entities in the space, all of them will come to each other. So there needs to be another channel, which is the Yenu. The Yoni is the one to keep that balance, while the earth is projecting its energies, which is like the Baywali. It's Baywali to, let's say, the moon. The moon at the same time is projecting its Baywali to the earth. But the earth will receive what the moon is projecting as the Yenu. Maybe that's the reason why you will see a tree that stands vertical. That's why maybe you see human beings walking straight and they're not, you know, falling. That's why maybe you can see we have those buildings standing and not falling. So the Yenu is the one. When another body projects the Yenu or project its Baywali, and that's coming on Earth, everything that is on Earth, human beings, trees, cars, whatever is living on Earth, all that will receive it as the Baywali. I will receive it as the Yenu coming from other planets, and that's going to the human beings or anything to go to the Earth. So the Earth at that time receive it as the Yenu too. So that's when Irita, me here right now, if I'm in perfect harmony, my energies are like clean, and I'm still alive with the Earth, living on Earth. The reason is like because I'm clean, my energies are still there, and that's like for everyone. So when a human being or when an entity becomes like the handicap of the dialogue, maybe the sun is projecting its Baywali to the earth, and there's some kind of blockage in my body, this body, and that blockage doesn't allow the earth to receive it, because everything on earth is in perfect harmony. Anything that you see on earth is in perfect harmony, because this earth itself needs to be in harmony with all the other celestial bodies. So when it comes to me and I'm not able to digest that energies, for that energies to go to the earth will consider me as useless, meaning the earth will set me for a self-destruction, meaning it will start going where I will have to maybe die, because that body is no more useful for the earth. So that's why really in the tradition we say it will take more than a sickness, more than accident or anything to say that someone died. for us to say that, oh, maybe my father died. What was the reason? To say, oh, maybe because he was sick. We just, without knowing, blaming the sickness. Because the earth is the one controlling all the destinies of everything on living on it. And so that's the main reason, like, this subject is very important. We can't really go into, because I know right now people are expecting for us to start talking about the Sirius, talk about whatever is there, the Dogon astronomy and all that. But as we say, you cannot learn a knowledge without learning what those, the first thing that those people base everything on. So we can just tell everyone what the Sirius is, what the Sirius is doing and all that. But without knowing the basic stuff, we're not doing our job of giving the knowledge to people. So we are trying at our best.
I understand. Okay, thank you, Irita. Big Bai, if you could speak at this moment about some of the things that Irita has touched on, and thank you very much, Irita, for that. That was very good information. And I think that it will still be a little unclear to people what is meant by the Bayali and this other word, which sounds like yen, but I don't know how to say it correctly. So Big Bai, if you would like to speak now to, again, what is the nature of Bayali from your perspective, and also how it interacts, how the earth, in other words, if a person is going to die, how the earth basically is the arbiter, in our words, sort of whether a person will live or die on the planet, on this planet. Can you please speak to this?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Everything that exists, let's start with the earth. Everything that exists on this earth, it has an energetic platform. It has an energetic platform. This platform and this energy is what allows life. If that is cut or no longer, if it's no longer there, that person, that plant, that tree, or whatever it is, will cease to exist. There will be a phase of decomposition and things like that. This platform, which allows life on this planet, is what we call the Bayou Ali. The Bayou Ali is like just a loose term. Let's look at it like a ocean that's inside the core of the earth. Let's look at it like that for the sake of this conversation. It's like an ocean inside.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's very good. And in some ways, we would call it a soup. There would be the same kind of thing, that it's a soup of different energies interacting with each other. But on the earth, it is certainly the earth energies, but it is also impacted, influenced by energies outside the earth.
Yes, and this is what Irita, when he mentioned the Yenu, this is what is impacted by. The Bayou Ali is impacted by the Yenu and vice versa, because the Yenu, if we take a planet, let's just say Mars, for instance, Mars has a Bayou Ali. The Earth has a Bayou Ali. Everything that we can observe in the universe has the Bayou-Ali. Now, the Bayou-Ali is a force that emits. It emits. Every planet is giving an emission. It is the connection through this emission with other planets that now, instead of just emitting, planets are also receiving at the same time. What they're receiving,
Yes.
this is
Yes.
what we call the Yenu. This is what creates that balance that is necessary for the planets itself. I'll give a very clear example of how this works. Let's just say you have 10 people in a big room, and you tell them, okay, I'm going to cut the lights out, and I want everybody to just run around as fast as they can, and it's pitch black dark, and to run as fast as you can, but without, making a noise or anything. Just run. Okay. Chances are there's going to be some injuries. Now, if you take the same scenario and you say, okay, this time when you run, it'll still be dark, but this time I want you to yell as you're running. The chances are the injuries will probably be less or non-existent, because as I'm going through, I can hear what's next to me, so I know where to avoid going so that I won't have a collision with someone else. I'll even be able to tell if it's a man or a woman. I'll even be able to tell if it's a boy or a girl, even if it's an older person or a younger person. All of these things I will be able to identify because of what they're projecting to me. Although I'm projecting at the same time, I'm also receiving what they're projecting to me. This is the way that it works with the Bayou-Ali and the Yenu and all of the celestial bodies. This is why
Yes. We would call this emanating. You understand the word emanating? That's what we would call this. It's a form of communicating between bodies.
Okay. Yeah. But traditionally, we know this as the Bayou-Ali and the Yenu.
Yeah, because what I would just like everyone to know is like when we talking about those knowledge, we just don't want the concepts to be like confused, because like the Bayou-Ali and the Yenu, really with someone who knows how to really manipulate them, you can control them. We control them, we change them, we do whatever we want to do with the Bayou-Ali and the Yenu, because they are not really like non-material to us. Those are like things that seems to be like touchable, like you can touch them and you can move them and bring them back and do whatever you want to do in the way to be able to bring that harmony. So I don't know if with what Gary you saying, if that's like the same way with the same concept.
Yeah. So
Okay. Well, how you deal with this, you understand, is it may be different depending on the person, okay, and depending on the purpose.
Yeah.
You may affect it. You may wish to affect it. You may wish to change it, or as you say, put it back into balance, and so on. But regardless, you either act on it, or it acts on you, or both.
Yeah.
Can I?
And so
these
are concepts. I mean, let me just say that these are concepts that do exist in the English language, and they are understood by various people. But I think that what it is, in other words, this information about the Bayou Ali, as you call it, and the Shen. What is important about this discussion at this time is how it is affecting life on the planet now, how life is perhaps changing as a result of changes in the Bayou Ali of other planets, of other star systems, and of the energies that they are projecting as we on this planet move through what you might call the oceans of the universes.
Yeah, I know this system, or let's say the modern societies, like think you can just wake up and whatever you think, that's really what it's gonna be. So, but at some point, we end up finding people like who are stressed. We are like, I mean, all those problems that we see around us, people have. And as I was saying, we just have to look into the face of the humanity, and it's going to be very easy for an open mind to see that something is missing, to see that something needs to be done, to see that there is a problem somewhere and that problem needs to be fixed. Yeah, the Dogon were talking about the Sirius star, or maybe talking about astronomy for thousands of years. So that can only happen if you are able to master the dialogue of energies in the universe. No one didn't go on Sirius, and no alien didn't come to visit Dogons to tell them what it is. All that, that's why I was saying that those energies, we master them just like how I can hold my cell phone or how I can touch someone. And they are easy. If you master them, it's easy to really like, manipulate them in the way to fix everything. But yet, this modern society with all the people ruling this society don't know anything about it. They just know one part of it, which is the gravitation. No, the gravity. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They just know about the gravity. So the gravity, just knowing only about it, is what is setting right now the whole humanity to self-destruction. The oceans are reacting. The winds are reacting. The mountains are reacting. The earth itself is reacting at this moment. So the thing is, like, maybe we have a very small anecdote or story, like that happened. My father said that happened in 1920s, something like that, where a student from Europe discovered, like, okay, I mean, he learned and he thought, okay, he was coming in Merita in Africa to teach them about the gravity. He thought he was coming there to teach them about the gravity. And then when he got there, in the bush, you can't live in US, or in Europe and go to Africa in the bush and say you want to teach them the gravity. And then when he got there, he said, okay, I want to teach you guys something. for him, this is like coming to bring a knowledge to some people. But at the end, he understood that those people are already like beyond, way beyond what he was calling knowledge. Because he said, he picked up a rock. So you see this rock, I will throw it in the sky. But for some reason, that rock needs to come back. There's nothing that you can throw in the sky and it doesn't come back on Earth. And he said that they asked him why. That's why he said, yeah, because when you throw something, the Earth has some energies that attract that thing to come back on Earth, which he called the gravity. And then, I mean, a 12-year-old boy told him, you know what? Here, you can throw something in the sky and that thing doesn't come back. It's going to stay in the sky, in the emptiness. He said, that's not possible. They said they want to show him, and then they have to show him. He picked up, they said himself to throw up the rock, and he threw the rock in the sky. But while the rock was coming, at some level, they stopped the rock there, and the rock was like in suspension. So that's when they explained him that here we're already beyond, way beyond the gravity. We're talking about another channel.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Irita. This is very, very true, what you're saying. And there have been great misunderstandings between people when trying to communicate. No doubt about it. Miriam wanted to say something at this time.
Thanks, Carrie. Well, I'd like to speak a little bit, not directly about, the Dogon, but to talk about a little bit of generalities and about my own personal experiences with other tribes and other traditional people also, because it's very relevant in the conversation that we're having here and that Rita and Bikbai are sharing with us. So, for example, these concepts that they're sharing with us today, to some people may appear to be very simple concepts, but when they're speaking, there's literally years of knowledge that they've been taught about the intricacies of this kind of teaching and knowledge and information that's interrelated to everything. And what they're talking about, I think, from looking at other tribes, if I take it into that relationship, there are other traditional people who have the ability to work with the elements of this world, and that's part of what their ceremonies are, is to hold all of these energies in balance between the earth itself and the rest of the universe in all of life that's out there. I know that there's a lot of people who are very interested in how it is that we can restore the balance in this world and how we can better ourselves spiritually in order to bring about a balance back into this world, onto the planet. And many people out there are teaching these concepts and ideas of how to open up portals on the earth to allow these energies to flow, and how to, put things into the earth in order to create this energy to flow again more freely. Now, from listening to Erita and Bikbai here, what's being shared is that we ourselves as human beings, and I know that they'll correct me if I'm not getting this right, is that the human beings that are here on this earth are one of our functions, one of our jobs here to be able to facilitate this balance coming back into the world is to leave ourselves open to this energy flow and to be clear with that energy flow. And that's part of our, quote, responsibilities as human beings on the planet. Now, Erita just touched on that, saying that the earth is feeling it, and that the oceans and that the planet is reacting, because these energy flows of the Bayu Ali, the energies of the earth, reaching up to the Yenyu, where it's going, and the communication is being blocked. So we as human beings have the ability through spiritual development and allowing those energies to flow, have the ability to assist in bringing back the balance to this world. That's what I'm understanding. And that's a personal belief that I have of myself in the other indigenous cultures that I speak with and that I deal with. And if it's possible to talk about that a little bit, to really understand what, I mean, we can talk about this, we can talk about the stars, we can talk about the energies, but really what is it that we as human beings can really do in order to assist the Bayu Ali and the Yenyu to flow more freely, to be able to bring about balance into our world and bring about a deeper spiritual understanding between all of these things. And
Miriam,
so that's my first question.
Thank you. I think that's a very well put question.
Carrie, one more thing, please. The other aspect of this, which is really important to understand in this process, is, and this gets touched on, and it's a very sensitive subject matter for all, quote, indigenous people who are carrying sacred knowledge and traditional knowledge, is if we use this information incorrectly, or if we're only using part of it, meaning all of these, quote, teachers out there that are taking just pieces, bits and pieces of this traditional knowledge, how can we affect it negatively? And that goes hand in hand. How can we use it in a positive way, and how can we use it, how can it affect us in a negative way? So thank you. Carrie.
Yes, thank you. Okay, could we have Big Bai address some of these things that Miriam has just spoken about? In other words, how humanity can begin to work with these energies and help facilitate the flow.
Yes, I understand. I think it, as I mentioned when we first started this, that within this period that we're talking, it would be very difficult to give a in-depth understanding, because it even takes years to get to that point. But on the basic level, the earth itself, if that dialogue is not maintained, if there are things that are presenting itself as an obstacle to this dialogue being maintained, plainly put, the earth eliminates it. The earth would even sacrifice every being on the planet in order to maintain the harmony with everything else in the universe. The reason why we don't observe life on other planets is not because other planets are not capable of producing it. It's just easier to maintain a dialogue that is necessary for that planet to survive. As humans on the earth, when we reach that level of, that really our behavior dictates, if we are showing and proving that we're not even interested in being preservers, when our mentality goes more so to the side of destroyers, because really, Carrie, there's no gray area. Either you are a preserver of life or you are a destroyer. But we like to find like some type of psychological comfort within being in the gray area where we'll give reasons for our destruction and the destructive things that we do. Well, when we carry this type of mentality, and being that our identity is linked directly to the planet, being that we are being used as antennas, so to speak, for the earth to maintain its dialogue with everything else that is so much bigger than ourselves, with the behavior that we display, the earth itself, we become like obstacles to this dialogue that's taking place. So the earth triggers a self-destruction mechanism inside of us, and it sets us for self-destruction. But the way self-destruction works is usually you don't want to just self-destruct by yourself. You usually involve many, many other people who also become victims or even accomplices to the self-destruction that's been set inside of you. Now, I'm speaking on the individual level. Planet-wise, is the result of the destructive attitude with the nature. These are things, trees, the earth need everything on this planet is here for a reason. There's nothing that is useless in the existence. Just like you'll get sick and maybe you'll go to the doctor and get your tonsils taken out, say, there's no use for these, you'll be okay. Or get your appendix taken out, it's okay, the body can do without that. These are two examples, even we're talking anatomy, two examples of how destruction, how that works. Even thinking that there's things that have no use. So when we look on the level of the planet and the earth itself, the waters, we look at the pollution, we look at all of the things that it is the individuals on the planet will suffer from as a result of these things being misused for many different reasons, but mainly for economic or power, egotistical reasons. The earth reacts to that. It reacts to that. So how do we calm the earth, or how do we somehow lessen these catastrophes, the ones that happens naturally? Because there are catastrophes that happen naturally. There are some catastrophes that are generated by the same mind carrying the destructive behavior or attitudes. How do we do our part as far as calming the earth, making sure that this dialogue, because where would we go if the earth imploded or exploded? Where would we go? That's the first question that we should ask ourselves, to those that are creating all of these instruments that can literally destroy continents. Where will you live? Unless you already have some other plan, where will you live? So to try to get more specific, Carrie, regarding what do we do, it is in our behavior. Iditar mentioned that we have rules that we live by. We have taboos. There are things that was presented to humanity that we will not do at any cost, because we have to understand the sacrifices are not just made for the individual, but it's for the whole. And you can always go back to the question: if you destroy the earth, where will you go? Where will you have to live? You're a human being. Your identity is linked to this planet also. So it is these rules that we have that has been guiding us, and these rules make sure that we are on that side of preservers. When I talked about this self-destruction mechanism that the earth triggers, it's its own way of destroying you, but not without you putting up any resistance. It's very ingenious the way that this works. It's very ingenious. It's a way the earth have of getting rid of you to maintain itself, but without you trying to resist even your own destruction. This is why everything comes to like give us the pleasure and makes us feel good. The destruction come in those forms. It come in those forms. If medicine was bitter, we probably wouldn't like it. But when we get those things that taste sweet in our mouth, it gives us a euphoria that allows us to even be okay with everything and be okay with the world, and everything is all right. This is an example of the self-destruction mechanism that the earth triggers in the human being. The channels that go through all of us are fluctuating constantly. They're never all the way open, and they're never all the way closed. There's a balance. This is why Idita said everything on earth is in perfect harmony. But when he said that, I can imagine the way most people understand harmony. They would say, no, everything is not in perfect harmony. It's crazy and chaotic. No. Everything that has life, it is harmony that allows life to happen. Now, those channels not being all the way closed and not being all the way open, there's a area in the middle that allows life. But it is when those channels start to close, that is when the human being is now set itself or has been set for self-destruction. But it can go in that direction 1 minute, and then the next minute it can open back up. It all depends on how the earth see that individual as being useful or hurtful to the dialogue that it must maintain to maintain itself. This is why some people would commit suicide. Some people would even cut their wrists, and when they did it, in their mind, they wanted to kill themselves. But then 5 minutes later, they get on the phone and call the ambulance to come pick them up. Which one is it? Did you really want to kill yourself or what? This is an example of how the channels fluctuate. This is an example of how 1 minute the channels can be closing on you, and then they can open back up. So when it comes to us humans and the destruction that we're seeing and the earth reacting to all of these things, the only way to ensure harmony is to go back, live our lives according to those rules that were given to humanity to be preservers and not destroyers. It's very interesting, Carrie. You hear of all of these destructive things in nature that has been happening, but you really don't hear about too many of those type of things that happens on the continent of Merita. And I've always thought that was interesting, and it took me a while to learn why that is. But I just say that to say, having an understanding of your relationship with the planet, it gives you, it's almost like a guide on where to walk and where not to walk, and also how to maintain your channels, your Bayali channels, how to keep them open enough to where the earth still finds you as an important piece to its own survival. The day that that happens, where the earth sees you as an obstacle, you're no more useful, your channel is cut, life is gone with that. And it doesn't matter if you are old, young, it doesn't matter, the situation. It's all about aligning ourselves to be a channel for the earth and this communication. This is why for us, sickness is not the cause of death. People can attribute a sickness to a death. No, the earth can no longer use that person to project its channels, to project its energies out into this dialogue. The reasons,
Yes.
yeah.
Thank you. Big Bye, I'm sorry. Yes, this is very, very good and very true. And it's a different way for people to look at this information and to look at life and their relationship to Earth and to life and death. And I think that that is very primary to what we're experiencing at this time on the planet. We also want to talk about the positions of the stars and how it affects the bioali of the planet at this time. Miriam is writing to me that we are in what she calls Heliac. I don't know how you pronounce it in your way, but which is the Heliac of the star of Sirius now. And perhaps you can speak about that and how that's affecting the Bayuali of this planet, the Earth. Irita, would you like to speak about this?
Yes, guys. Yeah. We our documents that ancestors wrote. I know this system said that we don't have any writing, but we do have writing. In Africa, we do have our own writing. So this is those documents are like things that teach us that the Cyrus will always like rise in the same position with the sun. And when the Cyrus rise in the same position with the sun, that is what we call the Eliaka rising, where meaning where the influence, that influence on Earth is that it marks the rainy season. It marks the beginning of the flood in the rivers everywhere. So that period is a very crucial period because that's a period also where everything get to adjust and readjust itself, whether it's material or non-material. That's the period everything get to readjust itself. So the effect, really, the Cyrus, the sun, and the other celestial bodies, we in the tradition really don't give it that much fascination. Why? Because we're trying to understand first the planet on which we live in. We don't even understand the Earth. We don't even know the rules. We don't even know the laws of the Earth. But yet we are already looking for what other planets are doing. This, in the tradition, we call it like a distraction, or maybe ambition, being like too much ambitious, or for ourselves. Because already human beings think, okay, we control the Earth, we finish with the Earth. And then we need to go and control other planets, which really is the problem right now of our civilization, of our race as human beings. Because we don't even understand the earth. That's the first step to take. Our four ancestors, they made sure to understand the earth, to understand the rules, the law, the regulation on earth, how to preserve life on earth, what the earth is expecting from us. What are we going to do to make this be a perfect place for life? Before even they started, maybe that's the reason they were able to reach other planets, even to get to Sirius and start knowing everything, get the knowledge of everything about Sirius. So really, we have a calendar right now that Master Naba, he is really like the first one now after, I don't know, for many years. He brought that calendar back, and that calendar, we're still using it in Africa. In the initiation, we're still using that same calendar that allow us to really understand the horizon, the heliacal horizon, and understand everything about the star series, because that calendar is based on the cycle of the series. That's why we call it the sidereal calendar. It's based on the cycle of Sirius, because that's the only star that has like a perfect cycle, and we base everything on it. So we have the calendar that explains everything, and just like to give it to people to understand a little bit how that alignment of the stars and of that star and the sun affect the planet. Really, it's just like that's the time. If it's just like for 1 second, or if it's for 1 hour or 10 hours, that's the time everything in the universe, especially everything on Earth, will be trying to readjust itself. So then we will be having like many disease. We'll be having like many earthquakes, or a lot of natural stuff will be happening at that same time, where the Earth is the star series is imposing its law on the Earth to make sure that the Earth is still like in perfect harmony with that seal, that star, or that alignment of the star and the sun. The Earth has to really react, and whatever is there not fitting into the harmony of that alignment, the Earth will make sure to get everything out of its way for it to keep preserving life. So what the human beings we've been doing is like we've been helping with our thoughts, with our ideologies, with our ambitions. We've been helping the Earth to really like get to the stage where there's like a lot of destructions. So now that really to talk about it, what I would say is like I would really want our listeners, because this is a crucial moment. This is a moment of, for us, especially coming to really share those things, it's a moment where people need to reconsider. We're not against people trying to see what other planets are doing or what's going on other planets. We're not against that. But for you to be able to know what's going on in other planets, you need to find a planet to stand on, and then start looking for what's going on the other planets. So now the planet we're standing on, we need to find a way to understand it. And that way is only, that maybe that's the reason in the modern society, spirituality is not taught to people. Spirituality is kept away. And then the religion will come and The religion, we consider in the tradition, we consider the religion, the politics, the science, we consider them as being from the same mother, from the same father. And they have only one goal, to achieve their ambitions, which is different from the goal of the survivor. I mean, which is different from the universe, which is different from the goal the earth has for us. Because the earth, all our destinies are related to the earth. So people need to really start looking into the ways of understanding the planet we live on. Once you understand the planet we live on, whatever alignment will be in the sky, in the universe, it's going to be easy, very easy, because the earth itself will present it to you in the way. It's going to be like very easy for you to get it. You don't need a machine. You don't need to build big computers. You don't need to build, how do you call it, those chips in the sky to go in the sky and learn all that. It's just a basic human being. We are from the nature. We are natural. We need to understand the nature. Once we understand the nature, not try to conquer the nature, but to understand it and work with it. But when we try to conquer the nature and then hope that, okay, yeah, from this we can go to other planets, conquer it, it's going to be difficult. It's still many things about the Sirius star cycle, about I know the system will call it Sirius B and Sirius C and all that. It's still many things that this modern society don't know about. And they will only be able to know about those kind of things when they are ready to really like understand the planet they live on. That's the first and maybe the first step to take into really approaching our knowledge, because we need to be honest with our knowledge. We need to be honest about our knowledge. So that's really what I would say. And it's not that we're not allowed to talk about all those kind of things. We are allowed to talk about all that, but you can't, from where I'm coming from, they say you will not cross over the snake and go get the stick to come back and kill the snake. You don't want to do that. But by the time you cross over the snake to go get the stick and come back, maybe you'll find the snake there. Maybe the snake will bite you by you trying to cross over it. Or maybe by the time you come back, the snake will not be there. So let us go, be a little bit honest, apply some honesty with our intellect and our the way we're looking for knowledge and reach it with, how do you call it, with a good, in a good way, where the nature itself will be happy with us receiving that knowledge. Big Boy said something very important. I don't know if people thought about it. I've been seeing it in the movies also, because the continent, Africa, is the only place those kind of natural disasters don't happen. If there is if there is a natural disaster going on in Africa, maybe it's just, they send the guns there for people to kill each other. Otherwise, we don't know. We learn how to master. We learn how to live with the nature in which we live in. So we try to live in harmony with it. And that's the reason maybe we don't have those kind of disaster and all that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Irita. That's very beautiful, and I appreciate that. So at this time, we have been talking for a while, and I think that we need to wrap this time up with some maybe final statements about what the purpose is of this talk to the world at this time, in the sense that we mentioned in the the preview, the video promo that we talked about, in which we're talking about the uniting of the tribes, of the indigenous peoples, and all the what I call the rainbow tribes of the earth. And that includes indigo children and many different kinds of beings that are here with us on the planet. So it would be very nice if you could start to talk about the purpose of your visit to not only America at this time, because I understand the elders have sent you on this journey, Irita, but also to talk about where you are going now, because one of the things you were connected with me through Miriam, and Miriam is connected through the Hopi, and the Hopi are connected through the Maya, and each, and so it goes. And so the idea here is that we have been also asking for donations from people to make possible travel so that you can go and speak to other tribes and other indigenous peoples around the world, so that they too may come forward and speak to the world about their knowledge, so that the world can address this very crucial time that we're in. So perhaps Bikbai, if you could begin to talk about this purpose to this journey at this time.
Okay. Well, the foundation of, we consider what we are doing and the knowledge that we are teaching and sharing spirituality. And spirituality, it seems like the word is almost like a cliche these days, where it's being thrown around because no one can really define what that word means. But for us, the foundation of that is honesty, spiritual honesty, however we understand our spirit to be, and intellectual honesty, and however we understand intellect and what that means. So in trying to constantly stay aware and maintain those two aspects of the work that we are doing, we consider this to be ancestral work. We do not think that this is our first experience on this planet. And I can only say that we do think that this is just a continuation of the work that we have been doing in past experiences on this planet. With that being the thought, it would be very dishonest if I attempted to answer the question of what the purpose is, because it's still unfolding. I don't know what the purpose is. I'm just focused on being obedient to the traditions that I live my life by, and doing that work, which entails sharing this knowledge. This is something that the ancestors are very adamant about. They want us to share the knowledge. For anyone to get this type of exposure of this type of knowledge and to just keep it to themselves, apparently this is not what the ancestors want at this time. Now, I can project my own imagination and speculate on maybe why at this time these things are happening, but I think that would be being dishonest and giving a misrepresentation of who we really are we're servants of ancestors. We're servants of deities. We're servants of Ta, which is the earth. And the reasons for things happening now is so much bigger than what I can project personally. Um, and when I said the ancestors are adamant about sharing the knowledge, um, we still communicate with our ancestors. This is one of the many traditions that were able to be preserved. It was the ability to communicate and to have a dialogue with the dead. And this is why Master Naba, the one that started all of this, he's still the one that still guides us and makes the decisions on the best decisions for us to go. And we do these things without asking why. We look at the results when we apply the knowledge. We look at the results, and the results, if they're proven to be great results, then the reason for those results become arbitrary. So I do understand your question, Carrie, and I am being as honest as I can with you. I don't know what the purpose is. I'm moving forward, just focused on doing the work, sharing the knowledge, and maybe in this lifetime, I'll see what the purpose is. I know what the goal is, but that goal may be it may be a very long time away from being attained. But I do feel that many people, indigenous people, many people around the globe are at a point within this current existence where either they are becoming less distracted or they're becoming they're going way beyond distraction. I think the positions are becoming clear whether you are a preserver or a destroyer. And it's only when there's no confusion, that's when it's easy to be manipulated, when you don't really know which side, and you can say you're on either side and get both sides working against each other while you're in the middle. I think this is what's happening now. I think things are becoming more clear to people. Um, um, More information is being more information is available now that people have access to, and it's enabling them to have different perspectives. It's enabling them um, to think a little beyond what maybe our limitations allowed us to think at a certain point before. And due to these facts, I think now that there's almost a congruency that we can see happening, where many people in indigenous cultures feel like, well, maybe, this is the time, because when you look at the youth in all of these cultures, the youth are gone totally astray. And when we talk about survival, if you are a survivor, you have to do what leads to surviving. And if you're watching all of your youth go astray, then you know that your survival is on limited time. So you better do something about that. And maybe one of those things is sharing the knowledge to help people to understand that what makes you who you are the values you go by. It's the values you live your life by. It's not because you were born in this place or that place. Your skin color doesn't carry a message. You can look one way, but if you live your life according to the values of another, the way that someone else of a different color looks, then really you're no different. So these values are what we're trying to share with the world, because we coming from the Nile Valley civilizations with this. We didn't even talk about the language. We teach what people call the hieroglyphics, the Medu. We teach all of those things as a part of our initiation. All of the philosophies and all of the the disciplines that come out of what people call the ancient Egyptians, this is what our initiations are based on. This is what introduced everything to the world. And it is these values that we are living by. And they weren't not just given to those ancestors. This was given to humanity. They happen to be the ones that, before the labels came and the borders were drawn, there was just upper lands and lower lands for the entire planet. And there was a king of the upper lands and lower lands, and then there was a king that represented both, which we call the pharaoh. They were all living by the same values at one point. The entire planet was living by the same values at one point. It is these values that we still live by, that we're sharing with the world. These values belong to all of us. And maybe this period now, when we see these coming together of different groups, maybe their ancestors are leading us back together for something. Whatever that is, I have no idea. I can only speculate, but I would imagine that it is something very positive, very powerful, and something that will contribute to the survival of the human species and to this planet as well.
Thank you, Big Bai. That's very beautiful, and I imagine that's true as well. Okay, if Irita could also address this same topic, which is, again, the purpose of coming forward at this time, the purpose of going on a journey to connect the peoples of the world with the indigenous peoples around the world, to bring the indigenous people's knowledge to the rest of the world. Could you speak to this?
Yes. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing, and how everything is just coming together as a puzzle game, where wherever we go, we always find the same people thinking just like the way we're thinking. And as Big Bai said it, yeah, maybe those people are not maybe aware of their ancestral values or anything, but those ancestors are still working because they still carry the blood of those ancestors. So something in them really, like within themselves, is really talking. Yeah, if we look around, we will see that our so-called modern civilization have been really like progressing, just like trying to destroy any kind of idea of traditions, any kind of idea of spirituality. But at this level of human being evolution, it looks like those values comes to be very crucial right now, because we just have to ask ourselves, every human being just have to ask himself or herself, where are we going with this? Where are we going with this technology, this, science discoveries and all those? Where are we going with all that? Is all that the purpose of our life? So really, we decided to really come forth here to talk in the name of our elders, in the name of our ancestors, and in the name of all of the indigenous people. Because there are things that have been going on, there are things that are here that no one really is talking about, or that no one is aware of. And they need someone to really do it. They need someone to talk about it. at least to begin. So we traveling. I left Africa to come to US. Someone did it before me. That's Master Nava, and I will take the occasion to really acknowledge His Highness. And really, he came with one goal. And that goal is not yet the goal of humanity, but that's like a part of what will bring the humanity to the first goal that humanity needs to direct itself to. So our goal is this. We need to be aware of our time. We need to be aware of our space. Whenever we live in our life and we don't have a time, we don't base anything on a time that is real, we're not really doing anything. We just being barbaric, as we can say it. Because time is a factor and space is another fact in our existence. So we want all of the traditional people. We want all of the conscious people. We want everyone who is really thinking about preserving life on earth to really raise their hands and say, yeah, that's what we need to do. Because there are many generations coming. Are we going to leave this planet in this, the way it is now for our future generations? And if that's what we're going to do. So that means those future generations to come will not have anything to follow, if not keep destroying it. So we want to really start putting those foundations. Yes, maybe the goal, we will not reach the goal in this lifetime, but we need to start putting the foundations for people to really keep them, start working with those foundations, and when the next generation will come, at least the generation has already a foundation that is there. So we've been working with the guidance of ancestors, as Hepu said, Big Bai said, and there was a very great moment that came lately where we have to be part of the gathering that Miriam is the one really organizing everything, and we have a chance to meet her there. But already we know about her already. They already inform us we're going to meet her and the work is going to start. And we did it. And at that gathering, we met many traditional people, many conscious people. They're ready to really put their energy in the work to really tell our governments, stop destroying our place of life and start preserving our place of life. So with Miriam and the garden she is really organizing, we are right now working hard to travel all over the planet, wherever those indigenous or traditional people are, and go there and talk to them. Kerry, Miriam, Big Bai, Irita, we just like a drop among those people ready to really like fight. As we say, we have the guidance. The guidance have been telling us that many of the people who are ready to do it, but they just need this, what we call watch, this motivation. and then everyone will step into the work and start doing it. There's nothing to be scared of, because no one is not going to live on this earth for thousands of years. There's nothing to be scared of. At least how we say it back home, it's better to work for nothing to really stay in one place for nothing. So we are ready to work. And that work, we're going to take that work. And we don't want to be really like, we know no one is really perfect. No one is really perfect, but we need to bring that perfection and grow with that perfection. So people, all of our traditional people, all of those conscious people, as we said, the spirituality doesn't consider where you're coming from, what is the color of your skin, or whatever you're doing. The spirituality is just about honesty. And that spirituality, we want people to be able to get in touch, get the Sadera calendar, and start living the real time. Because what we live in is not real. The sun's still up in Chicago here, but they tell me that it's 3 p.m., 3 at night, while the sun still up. So we need to be aware of all those facts and live according to a real time, according to a perfect cycle. That's the only way we will understand what's going on within us and around us and in our environment. So we have the calendar. We want people to really reach out and get it, those traditional people. This calendar will present you the original days of ancestral ceremonies, the original days of deities and gods ceremony, the original days of rest where you don't practice any spirituality, the original days of days of spirituality when you practice your spirituality and what to do with all kind of based on the star, the septet star, based on its movement, its cycle, with the star, the system we call it star A, star B, star C. Based on this cycle, we have everything in order. The same thing that the traditions back home are following. Yeah, people say that the Dogon are following 5 days a week. No, we're following 10 days a week. We have 10 days a week. Even the Romans call it the Decan. They know about it. We follow 10 days a week. And that's what is there. All the spiritual things are there. It's only through spirituality that we can hear what is going on right now. So that's really like our message about my travel, about my journey, about whatever is going to happen next. As Hepu said, it's just going to be like a kind of, trying to attempt to really say anything on it. That we just follow the guidance. And with a group like, with people like you, with people like our listeners and all that, we really hope that that motivation will get into everyone, and we're going to do it. Because there needs people to do it. We just don't want to sit in our rooms and say, okay, we need to fix the world and sit in our room. There need people to talk, to come out, talk, and allow people to really grow. So thank you.
And Carrie, if I may add something?
Yes, please.
Regarding the calendar, I know we didn't spend a lot of time on that, but that's something that is very important. The reasons that Edita just gave, and in addition to that, is our concept of time. It was set to where we knew at every period of the day which deity or which neter or which god, however people want to call it, there's an energy, a deity that governs that period during the day. With this being the case, when we look at the word neter, that's the only way we know how to say God is neter. But this is also the word that where we get nature is derived from that, which came much, much later along with, thousands of years later, we came with nature, but the original word is neter. And so really, we don't make, it's difficult to make a differentiation between what we consider neter and the nature itself, because this is the domain of everything is in the nature. But when the concept of time, Irita mentioned that our weeks are 10 days, 10-day weeks. That's where the word decade, meaning 10, comes from. It's decan. Well, every month there's a neter that governs that month. Every week there's a neter that governs that week. Every day there's a neter that governs that day. Every hour there's a neter that governs that hour. Being that now that there's been a big disorientation with the concept of time, it made it easy to disorient those who would know on which neter to call on based on any situation that it may see in the nature. It will know which neter governs that period of time and know what words of power. We call it hekau. A hekau is like a word of power. They would know which word of power to use in order to activate that energy or that deity that governs that period of time.
Big Pi. Thank you, Big Pi. I think that at this time, we don't have time to go into the many details of the calendar that you're speaking about. But I think that people will value this information. At this time, Miriam, do you have something to say? Because I understand from what you are texting me that you need to leave. So why don't you go ahead and say some final remarks?
No, I just needed to take a little break, everyone, just for a moment. I'm back, Carrie. No, but to continue on the conversation that Big Bai and Arita were sharing regarding the work that's taking place here. Recently, as many people may be aware, there was a very special small gathering of indigenous people and others also that took place in New York, and this was with the Hopi, the Mamos from Colombia, and we were all blessed to have the Dogon arrive at this event as well, which is where we met. And there's been a great deal of work that's been done just since this meeting in relation to bringing more of these tribes together and more people together. And it's not something that any one person or group can do on their own. It's an effort that's being worked by many, many people all over the planet right now. And we as, that are on this live stream today are just another part of that coming together of humanity. And the indigenous people, which is what one of the focuses of my work has been, is to begin dialogues, to bring forward in a very respectful way the true people of this earth to guide us through this very special time. And in relation to that, I'm very grateful and honored to be having this conversation today with all of you, including you, Carrie, who I adore so much. And the purpose is to continue working towards bringing some more of the traditional people together And through dialogue, through travel, through communication, through, you know, the traditions, in restoring a more balanced, harmonious relationship with our earth. And so if anyone would like to join me on my website, it's bluestarprophecy.com. And for the Earth Center for the school that Erita and Big Fi have been talking about, it's theearthcenter.com. So just to point out also that at theearthcenter.com, they have 2 magazines. One of them is for free, that they put out, and these magazines have a great deal of insight and knowledge into the perspective of the Dogon way of life, and I highly recommend that everyone take a look at what it is that they're sharing through the schools, in order to give more information to what it is that they've shared here. And just to say thank you to everyone listening, in recognizing that many of the people that have come onto the program with the live stream today really are focused with us in bringing back that harmony into the earth, and we're all working very hard together. And so thank you. Thank you. Carrie.
Thank you, Miriam. Okay, maybe I misunderstood the text that you wrote me. But at any rate, we have been going for about 2.5 hours at this time. We are putting this out for other people to watch it. So we want to keep it to a manageable length so that they can take time out of their day to spend time watching this and in their own way participating at whatever time they have to do so. With this dialogue that we have started here, because this is just the beginning of a dialogue. Obviously, the Dogon have many things to teach humanity that they have brought forward, and we have many things to share with the Dogon. It is not just a one-way street. It's very important to note, in my view, that this needs to be an ongoing dialogue, that we begin as more conscious beings to take this responsibility upon ourselves to change the course of the planet and to change the course that humanity has been on. And one of the ways to do that is by uniting the various peoples of the world and bringing to the fore the secrets that they have kept hidden in various secret societies and tribes around the world. And as you come onto the planet, if you're very, very young, you may be bringing knowledge with you that comes from the people that you represent. And it may be a tribe known to the earth, or it may be a new tribe. And we call those sometimes by different labels, but I think it needs to be understood that whether they be called crystal or they be called indigos, that they may be of other tribes that you don't necessarily realize, and that they are not necessarily united under one label simply because Western society has found it necessary to group them under a certain label. So it's important to understand that we all bring knowledge to the planet with us when we come. Some of us have ties, some of them very deep ties through bloodlines to the indigenous peoples of the earth. And we share the same blood in some cases, and others of us have different kinds of blood. It's all one. Humanity is one when all is said and done, and we are here sharing this time on the earth with the planet Earth. And so the relationship and the unique understanding of the energies of the universe, of the earth, of humanity, of the plants and animals that are here with us. All of this is a very important dialogue to have, and to begin to be more aware in your everyday life of these energy flows. And I think some very beautiful things have been said by both Irita and by Big Bai and by Miriam. And so I thank you all for this and for this lovely time of coming forward. I hope that we can continue these dialogues. We have put donation buttons on the page on projectcamelot.tv if you care to help them on their journey to go around and to connect with other indigenous peoples and to bring those peoples forward, hopefully in dialogues around the earth at this time, possibly even in venues such as this live stream event, will be made possible by your donations. So I encourage you, if you wish to support this effort, that's one way to do it. Of course, the other way is to bring this kind of creative energy into your own life at this time and to aid the earth in the transition period that we're all going through together. So I will say thank you at this time, and we will be signing off. I want to thank my technical team, Tommy Hansen and Zoe Quinn, who are always behind the scenes helping us to do these kinds of wonderful dialogues that we've been having lately on live stream. And the technology is what is making possible for this to happen simultaneously around the world, which is quite a unique thing that has probably never happened, at least this version of history that since the time of Atlantis, perhaps. So I want to thank you again, say blessings to all of you, and thank you for watching and participating in your own way and bringing energies to this lovely time that we've had to share our dialogue with the energies of the earth.
To hear what it is that they'll be sharing with us today. Thanks, Carrie.
Okay, Big Bai, do you want to say something at this moment, please?
Greetings. My name is Big Bai Inajinima. I am a student of Master Naba Lamusa Morodenibi, who is the founder of the Earth Center, which is the school, initiatic school that he started here in the United States. I am currently the eldest student from this foundation that he built here in America, and currently the Hepu Mayor, or what people would call the eldest generational overseer of all of the schools. I was born and raised here in the United States.
Okay, Big Bai, I'm sorry to interrupt you here, but your audio is not very loud, and I think people are going to have trouble hearing you. If you could speak a little closer and move a little closer to the mic on your computer, that would be better.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Is this sounding a little better?
Okay. I'm sure it'll help. Just project your voice as best you can so that there's no audio problems. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Big Bai Inajinima. Is that better?
A little bit, yes.
Okay. I am born and raised here in the United States and crossed paths with Master Naba Lamusa Morodenibi, who is the founder of the Earth Center. He is the Dogon Kemetic High Priest that I served during his stay in the United States for about 10 years. And I am currently the eldest generational overseer of all of the Earth Center schools here in America and in our locations in Merita. I am a writer for the Rising Firefly magazine, which is a publication that was started with Master Naba, myself, and a couple of other people back in 1998. And I'm currently residing on the West Coast in the United States.
Okay, we seem to be having an audio problem. Is everyone able to hear him speak? He appears to be speaking here, but it's not visible. It's not audible.
I can hear him perfectly, Carrie.
Okay. Yes. All right. I'm not sure what's going on then. Okay, fine. If you can hear me, then if Big Boy, are you? I'm sorry, but were you done talking?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, Irita, could you please speak to everyone and introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Naba Irita Shenmira, born in Togo in a Tem traditional culture, born and raised in Tem and traditional culture. I'm a Gurmanche, the Dogon tribe in Burkina Faso, and I'm a student of the Health Center, the school founded by Master Naba, who 15 years ago in US here, and I'm right now residing in Chicago and traveling to wherever the work is needed, traveling to go and get everything done. And yeah, so really that's what I can say about myself. That's coming from Burkina Faso, known as Upper Volta, around 60s. Thank you.
Okay. Well, at this time, what we basically want to do is introduce the topic of bringing new energy into the world. And I believe perhaps Big Bai, if you could start to address this topic, and then from time to time, whoever would like to speak, just simply go ahead and speak in relation to this topic.
Well, the topic that we thought was appropriate to discuss today evolves around the Bayouali, which is the dialogue of energies coming from the earth and being reciprocated from all other celestial bodies back to the earth, and how this affects humans whose identity is linked to the earth itself. This is a very big topic, and it's very in-depth. There is no way possible.
Project Camelot. We are here and very happy to present the Dogon speaking to the world today. It's going to be a very, very interesting event. And I'm going to have Miriam introduce our Dogon representatives, so to speak. And then what I would like is for each person to give a little bit of their background, sort of a bio, for assuming that not everyone in the audience will know who you are, and that includes Miriam. Okay, so why don't we start with Miriam and then go from there.
Okay, thanks, Carrie. Well, I'll do the best that I can here to introduce these two amazing guests that we have here today, who I've had the great honor and privilege to get to know over the last month and a half, 2 months. And we have Naba Arita Shenmira, who is a member of the Dogon from Burkina Faso. And he is a very special person whose father carries a great lineage from the Dogon people in Africa. And just to mention that we may use the word Marita in place of the word Africa, as this being the original name that was used and is still used today. So that would be Marita. So this is Naba. And we also have Bikbai and Nejnima, and I hope that I said it correctly, who also is an incredible person who is following the Dogon way of life and has been initiated into the Dogon following the elders in Marita, Africa as well. And I'll leave that a little bit further bio for each of them to continue if they choose to. I myself am Miriam Delicado, and my work in the last few years of my life have been focused on bringing attention to the indigenous people from around the world to have them have more of a focus as far as bringing forward sacred knowledge, ancient knowledge that has the potential to be able to help move along our society, to awaken them, to have a greater understanding of the energies that we're working with, and to also bring together people from around the world, not just the indigenous, but from all walks of life, to have an understanding that we have to make some changes in order to continue in our world. And a very big part of that has to do with our spiritual paths. So Kiri and the crew that has helped put this together, I send them all a very big blessing and thank you very, very much for giving us the opportunity to bring these incredible people forward to the world. And I also am very excited.
Bayou Ali and Dialogue of Energies in the Universe. Knowledge that's remained intact since the time of the pharaohs is now being shared with humanity to assist in restoring balance to our world. Indigenous people around the planet are reading the signs that our world and humanity are out of balance. Many tribes are now coming forward at this crucial time to speak with the world and share their ancient knowledge. Through uniting the indigenous people with the rest of humanity, we have the potential to restore a world in balance. Dogon elders of the traditional Kemetic priesthood recognize the necessity in this time to provide an alternative to the destructive, self-destructive lifestyle that the modern, colonial, political, educational, and religious systems have maintained for the last 2,000 years. This knowledge has been guarded by traditional Dogon priests, being passed from generation to generation only through intense initiations for thousands of years. Please join us as we discuss these ideas and much more on Friday, July 29th, 2011. Bikbai and Nejnima, Naba Rita Shinmira, and Miriam Delicado. Hosted by Carrie Cassidy of Project Camelot.
Yes. Okay. This is Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot, and actually just trying to do a couple of last minute things here. Sorry. And so basically this this is
Possible, really, that we can fully explain the depth of this topic during this interview, but it will be our attempt to give a basic understanding, or just to have a foundational understanding of what this means, this dialogue of energies, and how this affects the human being on earth and his relation to the universe itself. Um, Another topic that ties into that, that is not really totally separate, is the sidereal calendar, which is according to our teachings of the temples of the Nile and Niger valleys, the sidereal calendar is the oldest calendar known to humanity, but it is also the only calendar that the correct or precise time division can be observed through the a phenomenon that we know as the heliacal rising, which deals directly with the Sirius or Sothis star in the Orion constellation. So this will be the basis of our conversations today.
okay. Big Bai, what did you want to say specifically about the Sirius star system?
Only information that is directly related to our concept of time division and how that relates to even the effect that it has on the planet that we live on, which is Earth.
Okay, and in what way do perhaps you could explain how the Dogon might view time differently?
Can you repeat that?
Perhaps you can explain how, as a result of the having, I believe the Dogon believe themselves to have come from the Sirius star system, and that therefore they view time differently than what mainstream people view time as. Could you describe how they view time?
Well, I think there needs to be a better clarification or understanding of the Dogon itself, because many people have an idea based on what they've been exposed to regarding the Dogon that leads them to believe that the Dogon is just